but gymnasts have big arms without doing curls. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today, but a quick reminder, if you guys will please click like down below, be greatly appreciated. If you are not following or subscribed, please do so, and if you will be kind enough to drop me a comment down below to say hello or give your thoughts, I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you so much. So let's get over to this topic. People say this, and I don't think they think it through. They're like, okay, so, you say from your own experience and a lot of your clients and other people that, big biceps from just chin-ups and pull-ups, it's not going to be ideal unless you're genetically gifted. But what about gymnasts? Gymnasts don't do them, and they have big biceps. Well, relative, obviously, to the rest of their body and size. Okay, some things to think about. I want you guys to stop for a minute. So you're all going to quit your job and become a full-time Olympic gymnast just so you can have biceps. Like, this is kind of the logic that I don't get. So you're going to quit your job and go do gymnastics for 30 or 40 hours a week so that you can skip doing 5 or 6 sets of curls. Okay, so again, let me ask the question again to the people saying this. If they say no, if your answer is no, then you don't get to use this excuse. You don't get to say, well, professional full-time elite gymnasts have great biceps without doing curls at some point, unless you personally are willing to quit your main job and take up being a gymnast in gymnastics full-time instead of spending 15 minutes a week doing curls because you don't want to do the curls. You actually think that. So if you're not willing to do that, then it's not a valid point. It's irrelevant, isn't it? You don't have time to be a full-time gymnast. You don't have the budget to be a full-time gymnast. So how's it relevant to you? Okay, because the thing you've got to think about is relative workloads. How many hours a week are they doing this? Doing it a ton. Also, they're going to tend to have smaller legs. Why? They can't be trained in legs. They're also lean. So there's some stuff to think about. Yes, their arms are going to look big because, well, they usually do have pretty good biceps from all the high volumes of pushing and pulling and swinging. Sure. It's not efficient use of your time if your goal is to build big arms. It's really, really, really inefficient. You're investing 10 times as many hours as is necessary to build those muscles if your goal is to just get them bigger. But they're also very lean. Why? Because body fat is a problem for them. They need to be as strong as possible while being as light as possible or as strong as possible in that upper body. So they're going to generally have smaller legs because they're not going to be doing 500-pound squats. They're going to be very, very lean. That leanness is going to make their arms look even better. Why are they going to be lean? Because 5-10 pounds of extra fat that you don't have to have for function and health is going to impact your performance in your sport. So they're going to be leaner. They're going to be lighter. Okay, so you have that. The other things that people have to think about, one, the time investment. That's not a good use of your time. Again, how many hours a week are you willing to subject yourself to skip 30 minutes of arm training? Not a good trade-off. Really isn't. If your goal was big arms, okay, that's a factor. Then there's other stuff to think about. Not all of them have great arms. Ooh. Okay, yes, there are plenty of them that do, especially at the Olympic level. Tell me the average run-of-the-mill that every one of them, the ones who are still amateur, this is not their entire profession in life, they're not at that level. Okay, you see where we're going? A lot of them don't necessarily have that, do they? And they're still investing all those hours. Well, why not? Well, because maybe they don't have the genetics and they don't have the drugs and all this other factors going on. So here's what you also have to think about. We're going to stand here and we're going to talk about elite athletes at the Olympic level. You do know those are genetically not the average person, right? Most people, maybe they don't grasp this. People who tend to become very good professional athletes have things like a good fast twitch fiber dominance. That means their total possible muscle mass genetically is going to be a little higher. Okay, these are generally physically gifted people in terms of muscle fibers, muscle fiber distribution, maybe even neural drive in terms of their peripheral nervous system and muscle recruitment. These are not the average person. These are people who are definitely above average in these areas just in their inherent gifts. Otherwise, they don't make the cut. They don't get that far. They don't make it to the Olympics. Because the other people they're beating train hard. They're training hard and eating hard and have good coaches and eating correctly. Some people are just more gifted at some things than others, and they're generally going to be a superior physical specimen if they've made it to the elite level in gymnastics. Okay, and then and as a gymnast. So yeah, these people might have also been able to go be professional bodybuilders. So you have that. You're going to have the fast twitch dominance. You have the fact that they're all lean, so the arms are going to look even bigger. Okay, then you've got the drug component. We all know this. Most of your Olympic athletes do use drugs. Reality, drug testing is not that good. Do you guys remember when I pointed that out years ago? That for the 2012 Olympics, you guys remember how many samples they found that they couldn't kick out because the athletes have to be made aware of the testing protocols. So the 2012 Olympics happened and we had all these athletes who came up clean. And then a new test for turinabol that extended the detection time by a week. Okay? So we had, for this drug, the Olympic testing, this drug would only appear in your system for X number of days in a urine test. They developed a new test in 2013. This made it all over CNN and stuff. Remember the news? They added 7 or 8 days to the detection time. You know how many positives they found in the frozen urine samples that came up clean for the 2012 Olympics? That a year in 2013, those frozen samples, they found over 200,000 positives who had previously tested clean for a single steroid, a steroid invented in the 1960s. That's how old school turinabol is. Over 200,000 people under the newer testing that all it did was extend the detection time. It was still less than 2 weeks, meaning if you quit taking this drug, even with the new test 2 or 3 weeks before taking the urine test, you would still come up clean. Over 200,000 of them peed dirty for one steroid. Okay? $4 billion were spent in the 2012 Olympics for testing. $4 billion. And then all those slipped through just a single new test, one test for one drug that extended the detection time. Over 200,000 new detections from the frozen samples they kept. So genetically gifted people on steroids doing hours and hours and hours of work as a full-time deal build good arms. You probably need to curl. Just my advice.